Welcome back to my channel English Literature for NTA. Today I'll be continuing my discussion about the Age of Revival. I have talked about few of the renowned poets and writers from the Age of Revival. For example, I discussed about Caxton, the great person who has introduced the printing press at that point of time, and I have talked about Thomas Mallory. Now, in this discussion, I'll be talking about Thomas Wyatt, who lived through 1503 to 1542. And Patricia Thomas describes Wyatt as the father of English poetry, and C.S. Lewis called him the father of drab age, unornate from what he calls golden age of 16th century. His work together with Surrey was effectively canonized in 1557 with appearance of influential anthology, Songs and Sonnets, written by Right Honourable Henry Howard, Earl of Surrey, other a collection of familiarly known as Tottell's Miscellany. This has been asked previously also in NTA. Richard Tottell prefaced to collection of proclaimed that, quote unquote, the honourable style of Surrey and weightiness of the work of deep-witted Wyatt offered proof that English poetry could now stand proper comparison with Latin and modern Italian. 9 editions of Miscellany published between 1557 to 1587. A generation of Elizabethan poets and would-be poets, including Shakespeare, Abraham Slender, in the Merry Wives of Windsor, schooled themselves in courtly expressions of love. They were also introduced to the novelty of Italianate discipline of 14th-line sonnet to Ottava Rama, Terza Rima, and into the rhymed iambic pentameter line. So whenever there is a discussion of the meters, they are very, very important because NTA specifically focus on the question related to the meters. Wyatt introduced a full-blooded Petrarchanism to England. Wyatt's epigram were 8-line poem. Wyatt's love poetry suggests an equal intimate connection with the whims and moods of those who possess and manipulate power. His first appearance in print was in 1542. Wyatt adapted Petrarch and Petrarchanism to English sounds and into English meters. A good deal of Surrey's verse tends to look back beyond Petrarch to the Latin culture, which had informed the development of Tuscan poetry. So Latin has the great influence on the development of the Tuscan poetry, and I would rather say that it has also given a great contribution to the development of English poetry also. His verse to Latin verse is most evident in his attempt to echo the syntax of the Virgil in his book 2nd and 4th of Aeneid. His lines was unrhymed pentameter of more or less 10 meters. English form of sonnet has rhyme scheme AB, ABC, DC, DE, FE, FGG. He used blank verse in book 2 and book 4 in his translation of Aeneid. So one thing more which I would like to highlight is that he translated the Aeneid, Virgil's Aeneid, and he used blank verse in the book 2 and book 4 of that translated book. 40 of his poems was printed by Richard Tottell in his Miscellany 1557. This might be a question which might be asked, as I have told in the previous lectures also, that cross-reference questions are very much possible that they will be asked in NTA. Thomas Nash and Michael Drayton built up a picture of Surrey as a languishing lover of Geraldine. Now I'll be talking about Richard Tottell, because just now we have talked about Richard Tottell's Miscellany. So he lived through 1528 to 1593. A publisher who carried on business at the Hand and Star within Temple Bar from 1553 to 1593. He is chiefly known as the compiler with Nicholas Grimald of Songs and Sonnets, which is known as Tottell's Miscellany, published in 1557. He published Sir Thomas More Dialogues of Comfort, 1553, Surrey's Aeneid, 1557. Slender William Shakespeare, The Merry Wives of Windsor, had rather 40 shillings. He had Tottell's books of song and sonnets with him when quoting Anne Page, and the gravedigger in the Hamlet sings a version of Lord Walk's poem from the same collection. This is a very good to know information. a reference to the William Shakespeare's work. And so that's the reason I told you in the previous lecture that cross-reference, connecting one text with another text, if you find that reference at any point of time, please make sure that you are noting it down, because that's where NTA tests your knowledge and just check that how much you're versed with the cross-reference on when two texts are associated. Now I'll be talking about an educated elite, More, Eliot, and Ascham. The revival of classical learning, which had taken place in 15th century Italy, had put a particular stress on self-knowledge and on the reasoning faculty through the study of literal humanities. So, self-learning, self-knowledge, and the reasoning faculty were given importance after the 15th century Italy, the classical learning which emerged from it. It was a body of ancient literature and thought which was regarded as essential inheritance of modern civilization. The study of ancient Greek literature, philosophy, science had been belatedly introduced to England in 1490s by pre-scholar William Grocyn, 1449 to 1519, and Thomas Linker, 1460 to 1524. In 1516, Richard Fox, Bishop of Winchester, founded Corpus Christi College at Oxford. He made special provisions for a lectureship in Greek as a complement to study of Latin and divinity. Next, I'll be talking about Desiderius Erasmus, who is better known as a humanist, who was born in 1467 and died in 1536. He was induced by St. John to lecture on Greek at Cambridge from 1511 to 1514. And just if you want to remember the date of birth of Erasmus, he took birth 110 years before Tottell's Miscellany was published, which is in 1557. New edition of Greek Testament, Latin paraphrases 1570 to 1524, Encomium Murae, The Praise of Folly, 1511, satire written at the suggestion of More, principally directed against the theologians and church dignitaries. Enchiridion Militis Christiani, 1503, a manual of simple pity according to the teachings of Jesus Christ, which was perhaps translated by William Tyndale into English. Instituto Christiani Principis, Education of Christian Prince, vivid and entertaining colloquia and letters furnishing autobiographies, details, and pictures of contemporary life, which was drawn by Charles Reed in The Cloister and the Hearth and by Walter Scott in Anne of Gaveston. And again, there we are seeing the cross-reference from the other texts and other writers. Audacia, a collection of 1500 Latin and Greek proverbs traced to their source with witty comments. Erasmus prepared the way with Reformation, at first emphasized with the moment. Both Erasmus and More had already determined that vocation to serve God and God-given human intellect lay in the sphere of public life. The Erasmus world was best improved by writing, by education, and by scholars' freedom of action, not by direct involvement in state politics. This could be asked that what was the way Erasmus has given to improve the world? And More, however, the highest duty of man learned in theory and practice of ancient government to serve his king. Okay, so Erasmus gave the advice not to indulge in politics, but More said that you need to get learned in theory and practice of ancient government and to serve the kingdom. Next, I'll be talking about Thomas More, 1779 to 1852. Born in Dublin, he was educated at Trinity College. In 1801, he published the Middlesex Risk, the poetical work of late Thomas Little, under which pseudonym Lord Byron refers to him in English bards and Scots reviewers. Epistles, Odes, and Other Poems, 1806, was brought to the general notice by controversy surrounding Francis Jeffrey attack in Edinburgh Review. In 1808 to 1834, continues to add to his Irish melodies. It established him as a national bard of Ireland. Bard here refers to the poet. Famous song, The Harp That Once Through Tara's Hall, The Minstrel Boy. So these are the famous songs by Thomas More. He acquired a European reputation with Lala Rook, 1817. The satirical entertainment, The Judge Family in Paris, appeared in 1818. The Loves of Angels enjoyed a considerable wake and caused scandal. He burnt Byron's memories. So these are just one-liner works which you just need to remember the name. Thomas More died 1 year before the Erasmus, which is in 1536. And most letters were edited by W.S. Dodden. And now, in this lecture series, I'll be discussing about Sir Thomas More, 1478 to 1535. He sketched about his description in the Latin imaginary island of Utopia, which he completed and published in 1516. So it might be asked that at what age or in which year the Utopia was published. So it was published in 1516. He completed his dialogue, his first controversial book in English, directly, mainly against William Tyndale's writing in 1528. At that point of time, or in any successive periods, we have always seen that a reactionary writing has been written by one writer against another writer. So he prepared a dialogue of comfort against tribulations and treatises on Christ's passion. This is a very long title which was given by Sir Thomas More. Life of John Picus, Earl of Mirandula, printed by John Russell. The Supplication of Soul, it was published in 1529. The Confutations of Tyndale's Answer, 1532, again which was the reactionary work written by Sir Thomas More. And next is Apology for Thomas More, 1533, English work collected in 1557, canonized in 1935. And Robert Balt's play about More, A Man for All Season, was made into successful film. There is a Life by Peter Ackroyd, who is a famous Hollywood director, in 1998. Utopia was published in 1516, translated Ralph Robinson, and translated in English 1551, 6 years before Tottell's Miscellany, 1557. He also wrote Unfinished History of Richard III, and belated publication in 1557. Henry VIII was first king of England to write and publish a book, a Latin attack on Luther, known as Assertio Septem Sacramentorum. He earned the title of Defender of Faith. Utopia is derived from the Greek prefix or means not to pour or place with. With this, I end my lecture, and in the upcoming lecture series, I'll be talking about Thomas Eliot and his works. I'll be talking about Roger Ascham, and I'll be talking about Thomas Cranmer. And apart from that, I'll be talking about William Tyndale, who translated the English Bible, and we will also see the history of the Bible, that how successively the current Bible we see how it was translated into various versions, and how the current Bible which has been written and how it came into its original form today. Thank you so much for watching my lecture series, and if you like this video, please do not forget to share and subscribe to your friends. And I'm uploading these lecture series completely out of my passion, and these are being given through the lecture note which I prepared, and I'm sure that these lecture series will be really helpful while you will be preparing for NTA. And while doing the quick revision during the exam time, these lectures will be really important to remember the important works and the important writers. Thank you so much.